Hello everybody, my name is Hatway, and this is another rant video. My first one was Fat Kid Complains About Having to Work, and I'll probably be naming this one Fat Kid Complains About Not Having to Work, because I've been fired from the previous job that I was complaining about. What happened, which is totally justified, is I wasn't able to control my anger, and I ended up throwing a pallet on the floor. It was caught on camera, and they were worried that I would damage someone if I were to continue working there, so they let me go. Later on, I might bring up some opinionative conspiracies that I have about the whole situation, but for the time being, I will just start with a young man who I was working with, who I actually think I might have mentioned in the last video as being new to the place. He was upstairs. I was still working upstairs in the packaging area. And he came up there and started moving things around, putting them away, I should say, because it was near the end of the night, but we had about another hour or a half hour, I think, before it was over. What happened is he started moving things around. I told him to stop. He did not stop. He was doing it to get my goat, and it worked. But my boss, M, I would have called him in the last one, came upstairs, saw him doing this, and I told him, hey, get him out of here and tell him to put that stuff back. And he did it, but the young man did not listen, and I think that's what brought me over the edge, was he wasn't listening, he was doing it to get to me. And what happened is I threw a pallet, and that was the end of the story. Went back to work, nobody got hurt, I made sure not to throw it at anybody. And then the next day we came in, it was me and that young man working upstairs again. He actually apologized to me, and I apologized to him, saying that I shouldn't have gone that far, I shouldn't have thrown stuff, and it was my fault. We actually are decent friends. I mean, I don't talk to him outside of work, but he tries to talk to me outside of work. I have no interest in starting more friendships. But, we were working together, we were having laughs, we were laughing and everything, and then, one of the floor managers came upstairs, told me that I need to go to the office, and I pleaded my case, and they told me that they just can't accept that, and had to let me go. That's the end of that, pretty much. I came in the next day asking for my job back, if there was anything I could do, if this could be just a probation, or if I could go to like an anger management course or something, if that would help me prove my case, that I've improved over this. They said, no, we just can't have you come back. Alright, I'm moving on now. It's been 2 months, over 2 months since I got fired from that place, so I'm well over the whole, they're out to get me, So, since we're done with the little rant, I'll go on to, how things improved, over my last, rant video, like, M for, how I was ranting about him, how he wrote me up, how I didn't like how he was doing his job, and I would like him to improve. I'll tell you that he did actually improve significantly. He was not nearly as bad as he used to be. He doesn't really make fun of people in a serious way anymore. If he does, it's sarcastic because he knows that we didn't like it, but he doesn't, he'll make it obvious that he's not being serious. He knows that we are all pretty decent workers. There's a few people that are pretty bad, but everyone knows it, so it's not, he doesn't do it to their face anymore, which helps significantly. Yeah, he might still say it behind their back, but that's a different story. As long as they're not hearing it, it's, a lot better for their self-esteem and a lot of other things. He improved on managing people as well. However, all those things that I was talking about, like, going behind our backs to the production manager and stuff like that, ended up biting us in the butt, or biting me in the butt specifically, and him a little bit when I got fired, because the production manager still had this notion that I was a lazy, anger problematic worker, because every once in a while I would be a small time problematic worker, and he would go and tell them that. And that's kind of, I think, one of the reasons why I actually got fired, but I'll elaborate more on that later. Nonetheless, he improved, but the problem is he's bad at disciplinary action now. When it comes to write-ups, ever since that whole debacle about him writing me up, and I ended up flipping it over on his head, he kind of got this notion that disciplinary action is excessive, and if he does it, he himself is going to get in trouble. So he no longer really disciplined any workers. This led to people doing whatever they wanted to do and really messed things up. The problem is now he tried to take disciplinary action against the guy who made me angry, and this led to him getting in trouble yet again, and now he'll probably not take disciplinary action against anybody for a long time. This could lead to a lot of problems, meaning that people will get away with whatever they want again, and it could lead to just bad work ethic in general. That's pretty much all I got for. I'm friends with M now. We're good buddies. I have no problems with him. I mean, yeah, he's not the best boss out there, but he's doing his best and he's improving every day. We're off that topic now. We're on to the company in general. In the last video, I was talking about raises and how nobody was getting them, and that reigns true. Everyone kind of got a raise. There was just a small, insignificant raise. Not when I mean small, I mean there was people that got 5 cents, and it wasn't even enough to calculate a cost of living raise. So a lot of people weren't satisfied with it, and really, it isn't something that's good. It wasn't good, but I mean, so no raises. There was never any raises. 5 cents. Most people got 5 cents. And I think a few people got more, but I don't know who got more. I really didn't go asking around. Everyone was pretty disappointed at how small it was and all that stuff. But they tried, at the least. But nonetheless, they still didn't really care for the most part, even though they said they did. General work treatment, like how we were getting treated. You know, we weren't being treated as kids anymore, which was a significant thing. Everyone loved that. They talked to us more. They specifically asked us how are we feeling about the job? What can we do to improve it? Which indeed made a huge difference. This is what we were asking for when the new company took over, but it took them so long to figure it out. It was just nice that they finally went along with it and talked to us. Huge improvement. And the general workplace, it actually improved significantly. There's obviously people that were still lazy and stuff like that. I don't know if I talked about that in the last video. People that would, they're getting paid to do nothing. But I mean, that's every workplace. It happens all the time. Nothing new. Now, I'm going to go into what I consider the conspiracy of the whole thing. So I'm going to try to do this without giving away any information that I can possibly not give away. First things first, I believe I was fired wrongly, personally, but I know why I got fired. So even though I disagree with it, I know why it happened, and I understand where they're coming from. Like I said, I don't think I should have, but I understand why they did it. I just want to clarify that really well, because what I'm about to say is going to contradict everything that I just said. So I think I got fired wrongly, mainly because I felt like I was being picked on. Again, like always, most employees feel like they're getting picked on, but in this situation, I felt like I was getting picked on more. There was a situation with someone in the office who wrote me up because I didn't clock in. This was accidental, obviously. I try not to forget to clock in, and apparently it just happens. It slips my mind. And then what happens is they'll have to go through manually and check the clock or check the camera or whatever. Or in some cases, I would just fill out a slip, piece of paper, and manually hand it in and tell them that I forgot. Nonetheless, she was fed up with this apparently, and she brought me up to the office and said, "You need to clock in. You're doing it on purpose." And I said, "No, I'm not doing it on purpose. It's accidental. I just forget." This all stemmed off. I wrote a nasty note on a piece of paper where she said that it was all our fault, kind of thing. She said it's your responsibility to clock in, which it is. And I wrote something like demanding perfection or something like that, and it brought me it brought me into the office, and the first time she said I was the biggest offender. She said, "You need to clock in. If you don't clock in, I'm going to write you up." I said, "All right, I'll try not to forget to clock in. I'm sorry I did that." And what happened is I forgot to clock in. I think I even had the card in my hand, she said, and I was reading something and I was going to clock in, and I must have just forgot to swipe the card, and I put it back in its holder. And then that stemmed off this whole thing where thought I was purposely being an asshole to her, and it really bit me in the butt, and she wrote me up for it, and it stemmed this whole bad relationship with the people in the office, where our HR lady, who I personally feel like was a huge hand in me getting fired, when I threw that pallet, she was over there on the camera, staring at it, pointing at it, purposely trying to find a reason to get rid of me. I could stem into more, but I don't want to give information about her and anybody else without, I just don't want to give any personal information. Nonetheless, there was a personal attachment between her and the young man that I got angry at, and I feel like that was a reason why I got fired. When I went up there after my initial getting fired ceremony, I should say, what happened is my boss tried to defend me. M tried to defend me because the whole reason we were up there was because of someone else's trying to make me angry, and it worked. And he tried to defend me, saying that he did it on purpose. It was him. He tried to, but she specifically told him pretty much almost word for word, shut up. Let him defend himself, which is kind of if it was a court case, that's not how it worked, but it wasn't a court case. It was, employee matters and stuff like that. Nonetheless, I defended myself, saying exactly what M said, and obviously it didn't work, and I got fired. But I feel like she had a large hand. I don't think she liked me, and I think it was because of her relationship with the young man. And it's probably not the kind of relationship you're thinking, but I mean, nonetheless, they were attached. Like I said, I felt like the office had the wrong view about me. They told me that they believed that I was a lazy, anger issue person, and it was mainly because that's what M told them back in the day, and it's just this whole... It's partially true, but I mean, I don't think it warranted me getting fired over. Nonetheless, it's where I am now. I could defend myself all day saying I did nothing wrong, but I did. In the end, I threw the pallet, and that's why I got fired. If anybody from the company is watching this, just know that I hold no grudges. That's just how it is. That's the only main problem about this whole thing is I was fired on bad terms. And now if I want to get a new job, I can use this place as a recommendation, but they ask me, why did you quit your last job? Well, I'll tell them I got let go because of an issue about me throwing a pallet on the ground. That's, it doesn't look good. And this is one of my main job experiences. I did have a job for about 4 years before this, but the problem is this is my main job experience, and I was fired on bad terms. That doesn't look good. And for any new employer I look for, they see that and they put the resume in the trash. They hear that and they say, you're a bad worker. They said you're a bad worker and you can't have this job. That's basically what I'm going through now. I'm still looking for a job, but I do have a few lined up who actually seemed interested. Nonetheless, that's basically what's happening. This is just an update to the other one. Everything in that place improved. Everything was getting better. But, except for that, I do believe I was fired on personal terms and not actual negating company policy. There's people that are worse than me, etc., etc. The young man that I was talking about is no longer going to be working there. He actually I think he's moving on, going back down south to where he came from. Uh, I have no qualms with him. He's a nice guy for the most part. He's got problems. He's not the smartest kid. Don't get me wrong. He's smart in his own way. He's just not socially acceptable most of the time, and I think it might be a form of some kind of slight mental disorder, which I can't hold against him. And I don't want to say it's a mental disorder because he is kind of a normal kid, but I think it's like ADHD might be what it is. I can't tell. He's a nice kid for the most part. Um, yeah, that's basically all I really had to say. It's a small rant. It's not a big rant. I've had time to think about this. Uh, Although I feel like my firing was unjustified and morally wrong, I understand why they did it. I felt like the I think his name I think he's got like the guy that I was talking to, he isn't a production manager. He's above that. I can't think of what his position would be. Not CEO, but kind of below that. He, I think, had his hand pushed by the HR, and that's just how I feel about the situation. I feel like the HR lady did everything she could in her power to get me fired, and I feel like she did it to try to ruin me in a way. I don't know if that's true, uh, but it's how I feel, my opinion on the situation. And that's how it is. That's just how it is. Now I must look for another job with a bad reputation. Uh, I'm working on it, and I'm actually going to be going to a job fair soon to do more and learn more, and hopefully maybe get a job where I can go to school at the same time and move on with my life or something, and just try to get along. That's how it is. That's how it works. That's how it works. Have a nice day.